I thought my roommate was stealing my food, but the truth turned out to be way worse. I live in a shared apartment with two other people. I moved in about 7 months ago after breaking up with my long-term boyfriend. Rent in my city is ridiculous, so finding a decent room in a good location was already a small miracle. The place was nice enough. 3 bedrooms, shared kitchen and a small living room. My first roommate, Hannah, was a nurse and barely home because she worked night shifts. The other, Jess, was a freelancer doing graphic design from home. She was super friendly at first, the kind of person who talks too much but makes you feel welcome. She offered to help me settle in, showed me where everything was, even baked me muffins during my first week. I remember thinking I'd lucked out. But things started getting weird about 2 months in. I noticed little things at first. A yogurt missing here, a can of sparkling water gone there. I brushed it off. Maybe I miscounted, maybe Hannah took something, maybe I just forgot I'd eaten it. But then I'd buy a pack of cheese on Monday and by Wednesday half of it was gone, even though I hadn't touched it. It kept happening with small stuff. Bread. Juice. Eggs. It was frustrating, but I didn't want to start a fight over groceries. Still, I started labeling everything. Literally writing my name on every container. Property of my name, in big, bold, sharp letters. I even rearranged my shelf so I could easily notice when something moved. But sure enough, things kept disappearing. At first, I thought maybe Jess was borrowing food and forgetting to replace it. I didn't want to accuse her without proof, so I decided to be subtle. One day while she was out, I put a tiny piece of masking tape on the edge of the fridge door. Barely noticeable. When I came home that night, the tape was broken. She'd opened it. That was enough to make me mad. I confronted her the next day as calmly as I could. Hey Jess, I've noticed my food's been going missing. Do you know anything about that? Her reaction was weird. She looked genuinely shocked at first, like I'd accused her of something unthinkable, then kind of nervous. No. Why would I take your food? Maybe Hannah, she said. I told her I didn't think it was Hannah since she was never home. Jess just kept shaking her head, swearing she didn't know anything. I almost believed her. But the next morning one of my protein shakes was gone. At that point I was done playing detective. I bought a cheap little camera on Amazon. One of those mini nanny cams you can hide in the kitchen. It looked like a USB charger. I plugged it into the wall near the fridge and waited. 2 days later I checked the footage. I was expecting to see Jess sneaking into the fridge at night, maybe eating my leftovers or something. What I saw instead made my skin crawl. It was around 2:40 a.m. The lights were off except for the glow from the microwave clock. Jess came out of her room wearing an oversized t-shirt. She looked exhausted, her hair all over the place. She went to the fridge, but she didn't just grab food. She opened my containers, sniffed them and then took out a spoon. And she started eating straight out of the containers. Yogurt, peanut butter, whatever she could find. But it wasn't the eating that freaked me out. It was her face. She wasn't normal. Her eyes were wide open and she wasn't blinking. She looked like she was in some kind of trance. At one point she took out my leftover pasta, scooped some into her hand and ate it with her fingers. Then she closed the fridge, stood there completely still for about 10 seconds, staring straight ahead. Then she walked back to her room. No expression. No awareness. Just gone. I sat there staring at the footage, completely frozen. Was she sleepwalking? Was she on something? I didn't know what to do. I replayed the clip over and over, hoping maybe there was an explanation that didn't involve something creepy. The next day I tried bringing it up casually. Hey Jess, I said carefully. Do you ever, sleepwalk? She froze. Full stop. Then she laughed nervously. Sleepwalk? No, not that I know of. Why? I didn't tell her about the camera. I just said I'd heard noises at night and wondered if she was okay. She brushed it off and changed the subject. But the next night it happened again. And again. Every 2 or 3 nights she'd come out, wander to the kitchen, eat random stuff, sometimes talk to herself. Once she even stood in front of the sink for almost 5 minutes whispering something I couldn't make out. At this point I was officially scared. Not just because she was stealing food, but because something about her behavior didn't feel right. It was like she wasn't fully there. A few days later I got home early from work and heard her talking in her room. The door was slightly open so I peeked in. She was sitting cross-legged on the floor, laptop open in front of her, but she wasn't on a call or watching anything. She was talking to herself, or to someone who wasn't there. Not yet, she said softly. She doesn't know. She's asleep by then. It's fine. My blood went cold. Was she talking about me? I quietly backed away and went to my room, locked the door, and didn't come out the rest of the night. The next morning, I decided I needed to confront her. Not angrily, but to understand what was happening. When she came into the kitchen, I said, "Jess, I really need to ask you something. I think you've been coming out at night and eating my food. I don't think you're doing it on purpose, but I caught it on camera." She froze again. Then she smiled, but not a normal smile. It was small, tight, like she was trying to control her reaction. "You had a camera?" she said slowly. I nodded. Then she laughed, a quiet, shaky laugh that didn't sound like relief. "You shouldn't have done that," she said. And then she walked away. That night I didn't sleep. I locked my door and kept the lights on. Around 3 a.m. I heard footsteps outside my room, slow, dragging ones. Then something brushed against my door. A soft tap. Then another. Then silence. The next morning she acted completely normal. Made coffee, chatted about a new project like nothing happened. I decided to move out. I told Hannah about everything, showed her the footage, the recordings. She was horrified and told me Jess had always been a little off. But she thought it was just stress. Apparently, before I moved in, Jess had gone through a bad breakup and had started seeing a spiritual counselor online. She didn't know much else but said Jess had gotten weirder over time. That weekend I started packing. I figured I'd quietly move my stuff out while Jess was out at her co-working space. But when I came home Friday evening, she was sitting in the living room waiting for me. "You're leaving," she said. Not a question. "Yeah," I said cautiously. "I think it's for the best." She tilted her head. "You shouldn't have filmed me," she said again. "Some things you're better off not seeing." My heart was pounding. I just said, "Jess, you need help. Please talk to someone. You're not well." She smiled again. "I already am," she said. "He talks to me every night." That was it for me. I didn't even respond. I packed the rest of my essentials, left that night, and stayed with a friend. When I went back 2 days later to grab the last of my things, Jess wasn't there. But the kitchen was strange. My shelf in the fridge was empty, completely empty, wiped clean. Even the shelves themselves were gone. And inside the fridge, taped to the wall, was a small note that said, "Don't worry, I'll keep your food safe now." That was 6 weeks ago. I moved out permanently and haven't seen her since. Hannah said Jess got evicted because she stopped paying rent and wouldn't respond to calls. The landlord had to come with police to open the place. Apparently, when they did, the entire kitchen was covered in cling wrap and labeled jars. Dozens of them, with strange mixtures of food, herbs, and something that looked like blood. They think she'd been experimenting with some kind of cleansing ritual. I don't even want to know what that means. The camera footage, the note, her talking at night, all of it still haunts me. I deleted the videos eventually because I couldn't stand to look at them. I don't know if she was mentally ill, possessed, brainwashed, or just deeply disturbed. But I know one thing, I wasn't paranoid. My food was disappearing. Just not for the reason I thought. Sometimes, when I wake up in the middle of the night, I still think I hear someone walking around in the kitchen. And every time I have to remind myself, I live alone now. At least I think I do.